Welcome to Iblis Manifestations. Okay, Ashmedi, my friend and brother for quite some time. I think before we even start this podcast, I can very safely say that this might be one of the most anticipated kind of duos that I think people have probably hoping to see on the internet. You have been requested to be on the podcast many times. You and I have had podcast episodes long before I even started Iblis Manifestations. Let's just kind of put that out there.
Yeah.
But welcome to the show. And first and foremost, how the hell are you doing this evening?
Fantastic. I'm very relaxing. I'm very relaxed. I'm in Greece now. We had to do some rehearsals for some festival, and it was a very intense schedule. And finally, yesterday, my friend took me to this really hidden beach. There's like abandoned cottages there, and you have to go with a motorcycle in the dirt, and it was so relaxing. I'm like, yeah.
Nice, man.
Needed
Sounds good.
that.
Yeah, and I reckon you've got much better weather over there than we do over here in the UK right now.
Nonsense. I love the British, man. It's just a little nippy. Yeah.
Yeah, nippy. Yeah, I like it. Yeah, but
it's like crazy. The weather. I lived in the Netherlands for 20 years. I didn't know it.
That's right.
You know?
Yeah.
Sometimes I like sometimes the cold and stuff, especially when you're inside. But sometimes you're walking, and it's like Chinese tortures. Water keeps on dripping, day after day after day. So I'm like, listen, I'm neither a frog nor a snail. I'm not an amphibian. I don't want the sky to keep on like dripping shit on me. It's the sky. I want it, I explained it to the Dutch people because they go, in August 20, we'll do a barbecue or something if the weather is good. If not, we'll change location or we put a tent. I'm like, let me tell you something. 10 years from now in Jerusalem, 17 August barbecue. You know the weather, or in Athens, more or less. I mean, it's reliable, the weather, when it comes to the rain and shit.
Yeah, man, absolutely. It's one of the worst, especially when you're trying to land a flight here. It's always so much fucking turbulence, especially if you're landing in Birmingham. Every time I've landed there, I'm like, okay, this could be it. But anyway, I don't want to get too distracted with this, man. We have a lot of stuff to catch up on. I think that there's a lot obviously going on with Melechesh that has been going on behind the scenes, I suppose. I think that's probably an important thing to point out there. And we've given a little bit of, I guess, kind of heads up to people. So your last release was in, if I'm not mistaken, 2015. So it's like more than a decade now. And you have been working on a new EP in the meantime, which I have had the absolute pleasure of hearing. And I thought it sounded fucking fantastic, by the way. So yeah, maybe that's a good place where we can start and then see where this goes.
Yes, about time. Actually, we had an album ready. The thing is, even some musicians, some of them gave me this strange advice. They're like, dude, just record what the people want, or, like in a format way. Or, nowadays, fans listen to one or two songs, doesn't matter the rest. I'm like, no, no. Everything matters. Every song matters, every note. And it's about challenging, Sometimes it's a very simple riff and mood for the people. Sometimes it's the people will get quickly, I mean, and sometimes it's more, um, complex or a new territory. But they will get it because it's a journey, it's music. So it's impossible to make music for me just on the get-go, this kind of music. And it's also affected to your psychology and schedule. We toured too much, man. Like, I think in Europe we did 10 or 11 tours for the same album. And people were still coming, which is a good thing, I guess. And we
That's
did
mental,
other
actually.
tours. Yeah, and they still came, like
Mm.
without promotion, without nothing. Hell, we did like 70 tons of metal. One in 2015, and it was fantastic. And then we made it. We went to play there in 2023, and
Hmm.
I'm like, we don't have new stuff out yet. And they go, yeah, we have a what do you call it, autograph session or something, meet and greet.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh god, this is gonna be like everybody met us. They have their autographs, signed the albums. Meet and greet now. There's no promotion. We're not in the media. They're not saying we're gonna be there, except just the festival announcement. And I go like a minute late. I'm not in a rush. And there's a couple of bands from other countries that they have brand new albums
Mm.
and good album. Anyway, I go there and I see this long line. I'm like, oh, this is embarrassing. No, I think it's for the other band. They go, no, it's for you, and you gotta hurry. I was sitting just autographing, meeting, and even like when I chat, I wanna, connect with the people. The people organizers like, come on, we have to move because the line is long. I'm like, this
Yeah.
is amazing. It's
Hmm.
the same album all these years. We've already been in that festival. There's no mass media promotion and stuff. So that is an organic sign.
Hmm.
And there were some, how do you call it, parameters, whatever you call it, some data on the internet. Like, for example, our song "Multiple Truths" was there till 2022, and it only had like 500,000 listens on Spotify. And we're like, there's certain things, and then we checked it out with the new people at the label, new media department, and they saw a lot of the hashtags and all those were not correct. And then, like,
Mm.
let's say the summer of 22, so it was 500,000. The summer of 22 till 3 months later, it became like 1,300,000. Just and
Wow.
that's 10 years,
Yeah.
almost 8 years after the album. So there were some, things happening incorrectly that were kind of neglected. There was a change in the system of, digital stuff. And the people that took over started with the albums that just came.
Hmm.
So that was also a good parameter, you see. That wasn't the promotion, it was alone.
Yeah.
Um, so I wrote, uh, I have material for like a couple of albums if I need to. There's a lot of riffs. But also there were like a lot of stresses, multiple types.
Hmm.
And if you're feeling not okay, I'm not talking about the cathartic thing. I cannot compose genuinely. There's something holding me back. So I gotta feel 100% okay to do it. Comes Corona and the COVID, and the label say, look, there's gonna be tons of bands releasing stuff, and it's hard to get them out on time. It's gonna be overcrowded on the touring circuit and stuff. Take your time. So we
Hmm.
did, and then we went to record an album. When was it? 23, and it got delayed for stuff I cannot really discuss. And that was the part that caused like a year delay.
Hmm.
So we had to take things in our hands that we said, okay, let's make an EP.
Yeah.
And even then, there were delays. I was in Athens for a long time, and the delays were several, multi-pronged. Um, some of it technical, some of it, you know, cultural work habits, and also on top of that, there were many uh, dark things happening. My mom diagnosed with a certain disease. My uncle came to Greece. He was a big businessman around the world, and stuff. And he retired kind of here, and he had a diving school for fun because he likes the water. And he died. My aunt in Australia, she was telling I was supposed to tour Australia, and she's like, my grandma is buried in Australia in Melbourne, and she's the only grandma I know. So I always say I want to go put flowers on her grave. So my aunt says, you and I will go, When I tour, I'll stay longer in Australia. All these delays, suddenly my aunt has cancer. She died. So like, if I go to Australia, I'm going to put on both their graves. It breaks my heart. I love this aunt. I always used to crack her up with my Australian accent because she speaks Australian. It's been like 40, 50. Okay. All right, Auntie, for the dingy and the uni, and she's like, Daniel, how you live to speak like that, and it's kind of old that it's happening. Meanwhile, I met a girl in Greece. She was Polish, and suddenly she got the weirdest cancer in her head. Not in the brain, but it's like in the sweat gland. But it's so rare that there's, I think, her case exactly like 60 in the world. There's not enough writing about it.
Oh my God.
Even, yes. Now the chances of it being malignant, usually it's for someone over 50. She was like 41. The chances of it being malignant is 0.02% for people over 50. She had it malignant. We're like, huh? They don't get it, And we went to, luckily they're metal people, in Greece there are a lot of, the metal scene is huge and multi-generational. So many are doctors, policemen, politicians, whatever. So there were some doctors, and some of them are singers and death metal stuff. They looked after us because she did something stupid. She didn't get her insurance here or in Poland. Apparently in Poland is different than other EU countries. For example, I got one of the best health insurances in the world. It's from Jerusalem. It is the best in the world. Mm-hmm. But also, if I don't, at any time I can get it from the Netherlands. But I don't need it, right? There they go, no, you didn't register it, you don't get it. So she was without insurance.
Oh.
And so the doctors here, and the system in Greece is not as you think. Like, it's strange. There are private institutions, you pay for them extra. And the public institutions, apparently, they're so overworked and understaffed, or I don't know what, I don't want to assume, that they don't prioritize a lot of people. And there are sometimes you got to give an incentive to the doctor, like 8,000 euros or something, not because they're not paid enough or something. I don't know. Talk to Greeks about that. Luckily, these guys, they took care of her, did a surgery and everything for almost nothing. But then it became, we found out that it is malignant and we needed top-line radiotherapy. The first hospital specialized in that didn't want to take her because it's so rare. They say, it's not in the books. Sorry, we can't take this. Then they found this superhero for this kind of stuff. And he did, and she got better. Well, I don't know what will happen. Obviously, that traumatizes her and me. And I stood by her every day, every appointment, while I'm, also getting delays on the album. And, it was really not good what was happening to us. And the budget, some of it disappeared in some studio, It was tough. So a studio in Germany heard about this, and they're like, "We love these guys," and we heard about what happened to them. So they told us to go to Germany in the safe environment and record the EP. 10 days recording, and it was fantastic. The way it is, the way I always work, organic, good amps, good acoustics, everything was provided. I'm very grateful. And he said, don't even worry about the budget. Things changed because the budget was being burnt, Things changed now, and we actually paid him a good budget for the recording as a thank you. And so we did the EP. Now I guess this is the good news. I was just saying what was happening. The good news is the EP is 3 songs that are representing us now. A little bit touch of anger there, or retribution. Especially like we want it mixed in a very high quality, but also there's a bit of dirt and anger, And the songs are diverse. One is more like a journey. One is like black thrashy with a bit of our sound. And one is epic black, Sumerian, like that. So it's Melechesh. It's always us. Yeah. And it sounds really good and intense.
Agreed.
The guitars sound good. Everything sounds good. Yeah.
Hi there everyone, just a quick moment of your time. This is to let you know that my band TRIVAX will be performing all across Europe come this November and December. We are going to be going on tour to support Absu joining forces with Zemail to do the 30-year anniversary of the Son of Tifereth album. And we will also be joined by Ancient. So this is quite a legendary lineup, as you can already understand, and it's an honor for us to be a part of it. District 19 are doing the courtesy of organizing this run, and we're going to be playing a lot of different places. We're going to be doing quite a number of shows in Germany. We will be playing in Italy, in Belgium, Netherlands, France, Austria, Switzerland, and that includes Eindhoven Metal Meeting, Brain Crusher from Hell in Germany, and Unholy Congregation in Belgium. And it's going to be a blast. We're very much looking forward to it. And of course, we're going to be playing in Poland as well, which will be TRIVAX's first time. This is going to be a very special run, and we are going to be supporting our album, The Great Satan, which came out via Osmos Productions on the 30th of May earlier this year. So you can expect to hear a lot of those songs, and you can also expect to see us at the merch table. So please, if you're a fan of the podcast, feel free to come along and say hello at the merch table. I will be around, and so will the rest of TRIVAX, and we look forward to seeing you all in the flesh. There will be a number of other shows that TRIVAX are also doing outside of the tour, so make sure to keep an eye out on those as well. And of course, if you do also wish to support TRIVAX, you can visit our Bandcamp page. We've got very limited number of copies of The Great Satan available on there. If you go and check out and your format of choice is currently sold out, you can also get your copies directly from Osmos Productions. And with that said, thank you for your support and enjoy the rest of the podcast.
I used the usual. I used the left and the right 2 times 6-string electric with a nice pickup, passive pickup. The amps were amazing, and on the left and the right also used a 12-string electric. And the pickups are from, there's a company here, GAS, they do pickups in Greece. The guy is the mad scientist of pickups. Trust me, any sound you want, he has it. Like, he would look years for a certain magnet, and amazing pickups. And the one we took is something we needed for the 12-string. So the sound was good, and the source was good. There was like 20 sources of like microphones, room sounds, but it's all organic. So I enjoyed it. Then, we took a break. We recorded everything. I did the vocals in the States. Rob Caggiano, he was the guitar player in Anthrax.
I know Rob.
And he was touring with he was with the Big Four touring and stuff. He's a really cool guy. He used to send me messages on MySpace when the Emissaries album came out.
Right
how
on.
much he
Okay.
likes it, and we should work together one day. And he always puts me on the guest list for Anthrax and stuff. So we met a few times around the world, like in NAM or no Frankfurt Music Messe. We met in Turkey in the Big Four,
Mhm.
so he came, hung out with us. We did Maryland Death Fest, and he got us the guitars. My guitar came from the company; like they sent me one to the venue, but for the rehearsals, I used one of his guitars. And the guy just carried everything and came and said, "Well, I'll hang out with you guys." You know, he's a busy guy and stuff, but it was a good opportunity. It was one show. And he came to Maryland. We were all together. We traveled together. We stayed in the same hotel. We hung out. He loved the show. And then in New York, with his wife and girlfriend, we go, eat something. He drops us off where we need to be. Then he comes to our secret show, which we did a unannounced show. There's no Melechesh there except says King of Fire. And like 24 hours, 30 hours before the show, they put our logo. And it was great. He came there too. And then he's like, come over to my place in New Jersey and we'll record the vocals. So I did. We needed more time. I was heading to Los Angeles. I lived there. My aunt lives there. There's label, booking agency, guitar company there. So I was going there. And he said he needs to do a project there. So he books a studio from his expense and records me some more there. And we still didn't finish. And I'm going to fly back to Europe. Yeah, I was going to fly back to Europe. He's like, all right, I'll fly back to New Jersey and continue. Because the guy's like pushing me, do it again, do it again. And the whole time while recording, he's like this, look. Like enjoying it,
Yeah.
And he did the vocals and edited it. He also helped edit one song in producing the where to put the chords or something. And he plays bass as well. He's not a member, but he's playing bass on the EP. So that was really cool. Jessica also, she does backing vocals as well. Jessica, she's in Brujeria. And she's an actress. Yes. She acted in Orange is the New Black. I know her from there. And Blue Bloods and stuff. She's married to the drummer of Meshuggah. And they were really nice that I think they had a studio or something there. And she recorded there the vocals. I like this kind of collaboration.
That's a hell of a thing, man. First and foremost, man, I just want to kind of come back to it. I'm impressed that you managed to cram all of that information in there so coherently. But first things first, my condolences. I'd known that you were obviously going through some stuff in these years, and I was aware of what was happening with your girlfriend. I didn't realize the unique and perhaps traumatizing nature of things, but strength to you, man. I'm very happy that you're sat across from me here today, and we're talking about new music and the fact that it is actually happening. And if it is any consolation, the EP, as I said earlier, I meant it. It sounds fucking great. I am actually gonna revisit it now and listen back to it now, knowing what you've told me. I was particularly a huge fan of the outro of the first song because, obviously the Middle Eastern genes that are in both of us, you got those percussions and everything happening there. Yeah. That kind of stuff. I'm just like, I love to hear it, and it was actually mixed.
Wait, the first song, you mean Raptors? Because that's going to be the first EP, and the one which has percussion and it's like thrashy.
Yeah, right at the end. You've got those really like it's got that very Persian kind of fucking not Persian but like Middle Eastern kind of twang to it, but it's the same thing. It runs in our blood, like kind of
dude, it could be Afghan, Persian, Armenian, Turk. It's like the regions. I like to it's inclusive. It's not one specific. By the way, that song has another version, more 70s psychedelic rock, but that's like not mixed. Just it's there recorded.
Are you gonna release that one or
maybe one day? Yeah, but it's recorded. Well,
all right.
And it's like it goes like no wait never mind.
That's cool.
And then also there's like a percussion and shit.
Yeah, well, this is plenty for people to obviously look forward to when the EP eventually comes out. Do you have a date for that yet?
Well, so much is changing. Apparently, I'm told that I'm no expert. The algorithms are changing so much that even the way you do press releases count. The less you do, the better now, because the algorithm, if you have too many, they search out everything and might not give it as much priority because it'll be old news. So the less you do, the more it gets focused. So they kind of like to do as less as possible press releases, and then incrementally every month and a half or something, release one song digitally. Don't forget also, we've been far away for a while, you know, so this is gonna restore everything and give it to the fans within the period of 3 months, and at the end of that period it'll be out on vinyl as well. So the vinyl, I guess, will be around December or something, but the first song should be out now. The only delay we have is I'm kind of not satisfied with art, so kind of going another direction just to get the art right. But as soon as that's done, it'll be out.
Well, this is the thing. You've waited over you know, I say you've waited, but you know, I guess that's not entirely been by choice, but it has been over 10 years since you released any new music, you know, and the last impression that people had from you was obviously great. But yeah, you know, if you're going to do something again, you want to do it right. But I have a feeling that people are going to respond very positively to this. And yeah, I'm just excited about it, man. You know, I think that one thing that you guys have done is that, you know, you were probably one of the first to really, you know, there were always bands from the Middle East, you know, whether it was, you know, I guess our mutual friends in Horsemen who I actually played with before, or whether it was...
When did Horsemen has been around now for a while.
So...
I met them in Armenia once. Fantastic.
Yeah, Ali's been around in the scene since the early 90s. You know, I can't think of many other people who were like blasting Morbid Angel in Iran in the early 90s. But Arsemis itself didn't form until, I'm going to say like 2001, 2, maybe 3, around those years. I think that's when they kind of officially became a band, and then I think they did like their first gig in Turkey in like 2009, and then I played with them for like about a year.
You played with them?
Yeah, I was their guitarist for like about a year and composed a lot of stuff for the new album, which we still haven't seen. I doubt I'm gonna see my own riffs on there now. It's been like 12 years, but you know.
We played in Iran. We played in Armenia, I think, in 2009, 2008. They were there. I don't know if they played there, but they came there. So many came from around, you know. Including families, and they all rent nice houses and put the best booze. I remember one after show party, the Armenians like, "You want to come party?" I'm like, "I'll go with the Iranians." They're like, "Why?" Because they know how to party.
Well, that is true. It is true.
They appreciate the little things. They get like the best XO cognacs and this and music, traditional and rock, and even the families are sitting there because they also want to have a good time. And we're blasting metal, and they're like, you know, like that. It was he was there. He gave me a shirt, I remember. I saw him a few times after that, probably in Istanbul. Yeah, cool. We started in 93.
Yeah, that's right. Well, this is what I was kind of going to with that. So my trajectory of what I was going to put out there was the fact that I think you guys... and I could get this wrong, but at least from my perspective, as someone who's from the Middle East and has been involved in the scene there for, well, quite a long time now, I think Melechesh, in my ears, is kind of like the first band that really gets to fuse the Middle Eastern vibe with metal in a way that's sort of cohesive, at least. I
can be fair and clear. So we're the first signed band from the Middle East or Near East or whatever you call it, which is not Israeli. Because there are a bunch of bands who are Israeli who got record deals like Salem and Orphan Land and stuff like that.
Well, that's true. Yeah, I guess
and
so.
Orphan Land, they did kind of like the folkloric Mizrahi, heavy on the keyboards and stuff like that.
Yeah, I guess
and
we
melodies.
can't really have
Yeah.
this conversation without
No.
mentioning Orphaned Land.
Yeah, no,
I'm-
but
yeah.
it is different. But what we did is one of like the first to do is actually, in rock there's a 4/4 pattern, right?
Yeah.
We're like we have these Middle Eastern drum patterns. Why don't we put that not as a gimmick but as a bass, right?
Yeah.
So like doom doom da doom pa boom, and make
Yeah.
that the beat. And like what you play on the darbuka or other percussion, you translate it into the. So we did that. So it's the first band to kind of do that intentionally. Now there's some idiots who think I don't want to say the names of the beats, but they think it's like some Latin American reggaeton. No,
no,
that's
it's not.
faster. No, and they do it differently, but they got influenced by the Middle Eastern. These
Yeah.
are tribal beats, and they go well with metal. Metal and is tribal and primal. Tribal music is primal, so
That's
they
it.
kind of work together. You can headbang and stuff. But we made a point from day one, never to be like a colonial entertainment band, like welcome to the, Aladdin from Disneyland, like, or like give the tourists what they want. Fuck you, man.
Yeah, I get
this
it.
region is so rich; it's so full of stuff that influences the entire mythologies, and also we wanted to like. Basically give the thrash and the black metal that kind of touch, which has that occult and magic and sound without gimmicks, just blend it in the way you play. But that Aladdin metal from Disneyland, Sahara land, like I'm like fuck off, man. And the wind,
for sure.
So,
Yeah,
but
no,
some
I
people
think-
buy that. Some people
Yeah.
buy that.
Yeah, I think case in point with some of maybe the tribal drums that you, or rather the tribal percussion patterns that you mentioned, maybe the verse riff in Rebirth of the Nemesis, which is still one of my favorite songs of yours.
So that beat, yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, that song, speaking of Persians,
Yeah.
so I was in the university in Holland, right? We're in the campus. It's like a kind of city for students, really cool place. Okay. And I lived on a certain floor. The floor under me was my girlfriend. She was also into metal and stuff. Her neighbors, the boyfriend and girlfriend, they're two Iranians. Such amazing people. The girl, she loved culture and music. She used to play guitar and pursue all that.
Oh, very cool.
And we always hung out together. So I was doing there was the Rebirth riff. And the and then I did the
Yeah, that's right.
That's how I like things. I think but I go but I got stuck like 2 years. What should I do with it? So anyway, I was walking out with my girlfriend, and the Persian girl tells me, my girlfriend was at work, hey, I'm going to the concert center. In Holland, they have a very nice concert building with nice acoustic. They play classical music, but also they do cultural work. There's an Indian ensemble coming to do raga. You want to come? I'm like, fuck yeah. We're going in the parking lot. So my girlfriend parking the car. Come. No, I'm tired. I'm like, you relax there. She comes as well. We're tripping on the sitars and stuff, right? And as soon as I went home, I'm like,
interesting.
I got so inspired. Immediately after that, Ladders to Sumeria in 2 hours.
Fucking
but it's all thanks to that Persian girl, that she told me, come on, let's go. And I was just like, let's do it, And it was so inspirational. You're like, it kind of unlocks something. I listen to the ragas, but being there, and they're so professional. The ragas are, mind fuck, they open your mind, they are meditation. So it was a beautiful experience. And that's how we made it. So that beat, we call it also Armenian beat. My first drummer was Armenian, I always did it. So we used it from the beginning. I mean, in the beginning, our rehearsal cassette in '94, it would be like Bathory, The Return, plus those beats like So from day one we used it, and we enjoyed that more than putting synthesizer or something like that. I always wanted it to be, you can headbang on it, basically. It's still rock and roll.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's so, I think you have ended up leaving such a sort of trademark there, to the point that and this is funny because you and I were talking about this a few days ago, but it's like amongst the bands that I guess we always get compared to in TRIVAX, you guys are always one of the first names that people mention. But I think that's an interesting one because it's kind of like we listen to the same music, so it's I think it's kind of like it's like almost like a predictable thing, it's kind of like you're just writing what feels natural, but then other people who haven't heard the style of music that perhaps you and I grew up listening to, at the moment they hear that in the context of metal, they immediately think Melechesh, which I think is interesting. That's like again, that's kind of credit to your guys' originality as well, but I just think it's interesting that always happens.
I don't see it that way though, because here's where it gets weird. I look Mediterranean. So people abroad go, of course, he eats Mediterranean food, listens to Mediterranean music. In the house, the culture was more American. So I grew up in the house, there was always the Eagles, Foreigner, the Beatles. It was all rock music, to the point that when I was doing this Middle Eastern stuff, I liked kind of like when I heard Sufi music. Much later in life, and even I remember my mother's like, since and the rock music that I listened to gave me that timing. I'd be like 3 years or something, and I would do the drum roll from Hotel California, pop,
Yep.
My brother had a drum lesson. I was like probably 6. They didn't let me in. I was.
What a great fucking song, by the way, Hotel California, man.
The whole album, man. Life in the Fast Lane is insane. So I kind of like practiced the groove and the guitar riffs, but without guitars. My brother and I were always like mimicking guitars. It's much later in life that. From Sufi music and spirituality, I got into that. However, the beats, it's in a wedding, it's in the taxi. But the idea to make black thrash with that drums to represent extreme metal from our region of the world, it's the sound of that metal. And the sound could be starting from a certain point, but then you have multiple bands, with different styles. And that was my dream. There will be many bands like that. Now, not every band would be listening to the other and stuff, but my dream was there would be a lot of bands doing a Near Eastern sound, of extreme metal without a gimmick. There were no bands or like publishing music. Now there's at least like 80 to 100 bands, demos, and young kids, like 15, 16, 17, that they see this as one of those landmarks, as a reference point. Kind of like when we had as a reference point Slayer or Dayside or something, For them, they're young. They go, we've been doing it before they're born, and they say, oh, here's a reference point. There wasn't a reference point before that. But on the flip side about what you say, and you have to just embrace it, I guess, journalists need some landmarks, and you're gonna suffer from that because they're gonna go, oh, this band. You're like, you have to prove yourself, do your sound, and with time. Because we started the same time as Nile. Yeah, our albums, the first, are the same time, but we were on such an underground label, and we couldn't get a deal. They're on a big label. They're amazing talent,
100%,
phenomenal. Yeah. So some people
I'm
go,
not wearing
they're
their
like,
shirt for no reason today, so yeah.
So they're like, Melechesh is like Mesopotamian, kind of like Nile. There's no similarity.
Yeah.
There's no similarity. So I get it, but I embrace it. I'm like, they want to say it's extreme metal from this region, but it's not because it's inevitable. Most people in the Middle East, when they do metal, or in Spain when they do metal, or in Greece when they do metal, they do not look at their background. They look at their idols of metal. It'll be
This is
like
so
death metal,
true.
thrash metal. Yeah, it's no
100%.
problem. It's no
Yeah, which is
problem.
actually, by the way, that's a good point because this is something that I think most people perhaps don't realize about the Iranian metal scene, which obviously I can speak on behalf of quite easily here, just based on my own involvement and knowing many bands. Hey, just a quick moment of your time. For the past 3 years, Iblis Manifestations has been entirely self-funded. This means that every subscription fee, every piece of equipment, all of the travel expenses have come out of my own pocket. Over time, people have asked me how they can support the podcast, and to be honest with you, up until now, the answer's been pretty straightforward, and that is simply spread the word. But now, there's another way. I have set up a Patreon account where followers of the podcast will be able to make monthly donations to the podcast, and this will help cover the costs of streaming gear and basically everything else that goes into making this show. This isn't about making a profit, and to be completely honest, it's not about breaking even either, because that's certainly not been the case for the last 3 years. However, if you do find value in the conversations that we're having on this podcast and wish to help them forward, then you can now support the show. Just head to the link in description and hit the Patreon button. In addition to that, be sure to check out the Iblis Manifestations Big Cartel page where we will be selling exclusive merchandise for the podcast. At the moment, we got the Extreme Podcast for Extreme People t-shirts, limited to only 30 copies, and the pre-orders will be sent out from the 1st of July. So the link for that is in the description. And in the future, the Big Cartel page will also include some occult accessories and jewelry, which will be handcrafted by myself. And we will also be selling merch and records by other bands as Iblis will expand into a label of its own. And, of course, it goes without saying, thank you for supporting Iblis Manifestations. It is much appreciated. Most of the Iranian metal scene, at least, I mean, it's changed a little bit now, but in the years that I was involved with it more directly and in person until the point where I left the country. The most popular style to play there was melodic death metal, and that's melodic death metal that sounds like At the Gates or like some of like the later death riffs, and that's something that I don't think people necessarily expect from a country like that, So
no, but that's the simplicity. These are young people who listen to bands they like. If they like a hamburger, they'll make a hamburger. They're not going to make a fusion version.
I'm just supporting what you're saying there, that when you are from those regions, like all you're thinking about is making music that you heard, that you liked, instead of saying, okay, I'm going to take this and then mix it up together. Because the thing is as well, usually mixing it up doesn't always fucking work. It's just, there's an art to that.
It'll be like a gimmick. And now this part, and that's exactly what I toil to do. I'm like, here it is. There's Florida death metal. There's Norwegian. There's like whatever, Bay Area thrash metal. And here's, whatever you want to call it, Mesopotamian metal, black thrash, whatever. It is what it is. It's accessible. So even people in the region, maybe they go, oh, you don't want to do that folkloric shit like grandma or something. But if they hear us,
exactly.
No, they don't know. They don't know what they want. It's not there. And then when you represent them with this, they're like, holy shit, this is, I can headbang on, and it's credible metal. Like, there are punk rockers in the UK that go, oh, we love this. Music, if it speaks to you, it speaks to you. But I wanted to make this kind of, start something extreme without overcomplicating it, and make it a sound of a region with a touch, and many people just are playing what they like. And by the way, this is another problem in music is people go, oh, we're like doing a death metal band like Suffocation. I'm like, why? The Suffocation. Why?
Yeah.
Play it for your fun, but now why you want to release it? But now why you want me to listen to it? Why do I can listen to Suffocation? If you're influenced and you develop, you need to make a sound with time and character, not based on your country or anything. That's something else. That's why they're called artists. Like Trey Azakthov is only him.
Yeah.
Carl is only him. A dissection is dissection. Like there's many people in the same town making extremes. They don't have it.
Yeah,
You
spot
need
on,
to
man.
have
Yeah.
that's you need to have a character to give. So it's like, hey man, we know how to make a ham cheese sandwich. Yeah. And the other guy goes, hey man, I just made a ham cheese sandwich. Yeah, you're not a chef.
Yeah.
It's made. You are a cook in a diner. You're recreating. And to release it professionally, it's for me, it's pointless. It's good to be influenced, and we're all influenced from each other. It could be music and other stuff. So yeah, once something is made, it's easy to recreate it. There's some music now that's not invented yet. We don't know what it is. Once it's done, people go, "Oh yeah, of course." But of course,
Yeah.
the drumming, like the double bass, the death metal, how they went there. There are hints and moments in music that trigger those thoughts. But once it's made, it's natural. Like, yeah, we're sounding like this band and this band plus this band. It won't last. And,
Yeah.
it's a pull versus push. You're going to shove it down someone's throat, or people are going to come on, can you play a concert, please? So I wish more people try to pursue a sound.
I love to hear that. I love to hear that, and I think that's extremely important and valid advice, I think, to anyone out there. This is kind of the thing that I've tried to say on this podcast as many times as I could, really, and it's the fact that, you don't start playing this music just for the sake of it. Normally, it has to come from a place of need, and usually that's an artistic need because it's a form of expression that you need to have because your life feels incomplete without it. Now, granted, sometimes it takes time to find your real sound. Okay,
absolutely. Absolutely.
Same as like Motorhead. Like Motorhead wasn't Lemmy's first band. He was in like a million other bands before they formed. He was actually like quite old by the time they started. He was like 30 or like 35 by the time Motorhead actually started, which is, it's not an old age, but to start a band, that's quite a late age to do that. But he was playing whether it was with the Vickers before that and Hawkwind. Hawkwind was kind of like the last one. That's still like a massive scale. But I think that sometimes it does take time, and you want to give yourself the opportunity to do that. Because sometimes I find releasing music is a little bit like, an idea that lives inside your head for a long time. But the moment you share that idea with someone, the definition of it almost changes because you're like, okay, now that I've said it out loud, maybe it's not as smart as I thought it was in my head. And I think music sometimes can feel a bit like that. You can have something that feels like shit hot. The moment you release it or you play it on stage, it's kind of like, oh, okay, this is not exactly how I imagined it would be, so that's something that comes with a little bit of practice as well.
But even that, I sometimes I don't overemphasize the message or something. Like I want people, whatever they see in their head, in their experience, let them experience it. In personal experience to the music. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So in the hands of the public, it could be whatever you want it to be.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Tell you what, I really, one of the topics that I really wanted to kind of dig deep with you is, I guess sort of like the lyrical concepts of Melechesh. I think that's an area that kind of goes pretty deep. I mean, there's a lot of anecdotes and really interesting angles to the music itself, which we've kind of discussed. But I do want to go into the lyrics a little bit, especially the more Sumerian stuff, and perhaps the more spiritual angle to the music. So, I mean, I don't know, just personally for you, do you recall what was the moment of being introduced to these type of subjects and where your own personal interest came from?
I mean, you're going to hear it from everybody. Like, even when I'm a kid, I used to look at people's body language and patterns, why they behave like that, the teachers, and it kind of like weirded me out, like why they're like this, why they're like that. And then I started seeing patterns in everything. And you start searching why there are patterns, what's causing certain beliefs. Now I'm philosophizing it. So I'm interested in these, you know, uh, the subjects within us when we talk about Sumerian mythology and stuff. It's all metaphor also, and even the mythology is a metaphor. They're trying to tell you something more about the origins of mankind, and I mix it. I have subliminal or multiple meanings in each song, and I
Multiple
don't.
truths.
Multiple truths has absolutely.
Yes.
So in the rehearsals, I call it Motley Crue. Because
Yeah.
multiple truths. So, all right, let's play multiple Crue. It's all right,
Right
Motley
on.
Crue. Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
so the lyrics are very, very um, expressive and deep, and I found comfort in that. What I see and what I hear, and is put in the lyrics. It starts from a concept to a movie in the head, but also there's another layer, like Leopard Jerusalem, Lost Tribes. If you, I never talked about it really publicly. The story behind the lyrics is insane, and so maybe I shouldn't even talk about, but. There are a lot of metaphors in the lyrics, and the bottom line of that, it is try to figure out where we're from, the hive mind, that if we can be telepaths, the full potential of the brain versus the universe. Are there other dimensions? Of course, there are things we do not see. I mean, hell, we don't know. We don't see infrared or ultraviolet, but it's there. So there's more
Hmm.
that words cannot explain. I'm in an airplane with a tablet watching cartoon or something. How do you explain that a couple of thousand years ago, 4,000 years ago? It's an iron bird with a big sound. How do you explain this magical tablet?
Yeah.
And so sometimes magic or whatever is undiscovered science or something, the way they explain
Oh,
it. So this is,
boom.
yeah, this is what I touch upon in a way. And that's why I say there's no absolute answers, kind of, because whatever seems very normal now could be absolutely rubbish. For example, when you see the table or the wall behind me, the atoms are moving, except much slower.
Hmm.
There's no solid state. Yeah. So we don't know that. For a rock is solid as fuck, but actually the atoms are moving so slowly. So things like that. But also the sound frequencies and colors have a lot to do with how it affects on a cellular level, on a DNA level, and on a molecular level the world. I even knew one time there's some pop star, famous pop star who likes metal, invited me when I went to their country, made a party, and his house had these crazy people like occultists and stuff. One guy was a rocket scientist from NASA, and a
Hmm.
mathematician professor. He's like, he gave all that up. He's like, the world's all frequencies.
Oh,
And
yes.
yeah, and there it is. You see the patterns from the frequency. There's order and chaos is together, and this is also how we do songs: order and chaos, and it's in the lyrics as well. But there's always metaphor there.
Hmm.
It's not as straightforward as people might think. And there are hidden meanings, and sometimes even there are hidden messages in the words and stuff like that. So I like that, toying with that idea. It's expressive, it's an art
Hmm.
form, and there's substance. You don't want to read the lyrics, don't. Headbang, do. You want to trip, do. But if you read the lyrics, there's something of substance. And I love to see some people's interpretation. Sometimes they get it. I am surprised. And sometimes they have their own interpretation. I'm like, oh, that's an interesting way of seeing it. If it speaks to you, it speaks to you, you know.
Hmm.
And even there's like mind games. Like for example, Greg Gathas of Baal Sin. I go nine spirits. Now, a lot of the youth and the metalheads are rebellious, right? No, and we have a big fan base in Germany, Austria, German-speaking countries. So 9.
All right.
The word nine. So listen, I'm singing about 9 spirits, right? But
Yeah.
I can imagine a kid in the bedroom looking at himself in the mirror going, you know,
9.
and thank you,
Yeah.
parents. So there is a subliminal thing there, you
Interesting.
know? Yeah.
Hmm.
Even in the, like, how the phonetics or something like that, that it could trigger some parts of the world, you know? And it's part of the art. I mean, here's something not many people know. Megadeth, rest in peace, the song Take No Prisoners. At the end of the song, it goes, take no prisoners, take no shit, take no prisoners, take no shit, take no prisoners, take no shit, take no shit.
All
They
right.
start the pronunciation, you know, take
Mhm.
no, techno, shit, because he hated techno or something.
Yeah.
It's art. There is a name for that, by the way, you know, and
Mhm.
I like playing around with that stuff, with the
Uh,
mind, you know.
I love to hear that, man. I'm immediately like, my ears have kind of like raised, just from the similarity of, I guess, point of observation that we very much have in common. Okay, and I'm
Well, we
gonna
share the
go.
same interest. We share the same
We do,
interest, you know.
but I think
Uh,
you need like a specific kind of, I don't know, without sounding arrogant or pretentious. I think you need a specific brain for it. I'm just gonna say it like it is,
well, I mean, I
and
guess you're a certain type of person if you do certain thing, you know,
yeah,
inquisitive and stuff. So,
yeah.
and we find maybe at the moment the music is a source of exploration and expression. So, you know, these are some qualities that we could have. It's not, if we didn't have that, probably we would be doing something else.
That this is true. So I really want to talk to you about this now. So we're talking about different dimensions and things. That this is something that I've thought about a lot. Because we
Yeah,
know that we cannot see everything with the naked eye. Even the
yeah,
simple Wi-Fi that grants you and I to be talking right now, you
yeah.
cannot see it. And I do think that there are many different things, like the very first episode of this podcast is basically me talking about paranormal experiences that I had
Hmm.
with my ex-partner in this flat in Birmingham, and up until that point, I never realized a lot of these things were possible until I
Yeah,
experienced it for myself. But then that forced me to basically re-envision my understanding of the world, which is that I have very little understanding of a lot of it, but I know that there are things there. You said this thing earlier that I thought was fucking perfect. You said that magic is just undiscovered science, and I fucking
yeah.
love that. I think that that's right on the money. So, with that said, did you have any? I'll tell you what, I'll just cut straight to the chase, man. No fucking around. You mentioned earlier. You said the term "Where do we come from?" Where do you think we come from?
You know, that also could be. There is the spiritual enlightenment, whatever it is, or maybe the mental enlightenment, but there's also practical. For example, people confuse both. Like, you know, when you watch a sci-fi movie, spaceships, people heal, but when they die, you know.
Hmm.
So they can cross dimensions because they have a device. I mean, with time and stuff. But when they die, they die. That's it. But as long as they're alive and they have the know-how or the knowledge, they can. That's one. So sometimes some people think of spirituality, you know, in a different way, and sometimes it's just advancement. That's what I mean. So from a point of advancement, probably, you know, our cells multiplied and shit like that. But when, as a civilization, we advanced, there are gaps. Probably there was some input from some more advanced. See, we think we know everything. There probably were more civilizations here, maybe, maybe not. And the timeline of life is not the same for everybody. Even in
Hmm.
countries, some countries are more advanced than others. Till now, like there's a that I forgot the name. Jesus, I'm blacking out. The Victorian Island, the island by India where people don't mix with people from outside the island. They're
Oh
still
yeah, like
living like
uncontacted tribes. Yeah, yeah. There's
yeah,
a few of
yeah.
those
And then
actually.
there is
Yeah.
we got flying drones and stuff like that. So in
Yeah.
the universe itself, this also applies. So there are more advanced people, and they can do more advanced things, and maybe we're part of that. Some scientists said, according to like a calculation in a computer, it's a scientific impossibility that there are no intelligent life around the universe with its vast size and what it takes to make life. Some is very primitive, some is still microbial, and some is very advanced. And then now the theory of there's multiple dimensions and stuff, that complicates things. That's even more possibilities. So what I'm saying, where do we come from, or what interacted with us could be these things.
Okay.
And in a way that kind of explains the mythologies and the similarities. Always from the sky roaring. Fucking spaceship or a plane, who knows? Or something appeared. Maybe that's another dimension. But also, there's life is not one answer. There's many things happening. There's multiple truths or misunderstandings. So, like when there are religious books and stuff, many of them are coming like Noah's Ark and stuff like that. The story is made Atrahasis or Utnapishtim in Mesopotamian mythology. It's the same story, right? So it must have been taken as a meaning. And you put every animal there. Get the fuck out of here, Elephants, and then what? You're gonna put a koala in it? You know what I mean? In the ship, How about it makes more sense? We would do it now. We'd have a vessel, call it a spaceship, an airplane, a boat, a car that has DNA samples of everything, in case the world ends. You know what I mean? So you take samples of DNA of every creature in the world, and that's an ark. So there's ways of saying stuff, right? But on the other hand, there are also mistakes. People hallucinate, they see stuff. I mean, when there are some of these stories where this guy, the bush became fire, the piece of wood became a snake. Have you ever taken magic mushrooms?
Yeah. Well, the idea is that acacia, the idea is that allegedly the burning bush that Moses confronted was acacia tree, and in it was DMT, which he inhaled, and that's how he communicated.
Anyway, if they inhaled it, or if they ate a mushroom, drank seawater, or have undiagnosed schizophrenia, you see things. Now, it doesn't matter. Sometimes even in schizophrenia is enlightenment. You see stuff beyond, but also you see stuff differently, just like dogs see differently. And I did before, like, let's say emissaries, a spiritual shamanic journey and stuff, and there was water coming out of the wall. The speakers were moving like snakes with the sitar, and I'm like, figured it out. I'm like, they all had that. No one talks about that, or whenever something appears, it's always in private, in the dark. Go fuck yourself. Even the movie Planet of the Apes, the remake with Mark Wahlberg, humans and apes are about to fight, and the monkey comes, who started it, in front of everybody, and they stop the fight, So there's a lot of manipulation and bullshit and misunderstandings, schizophrenia, mushrooms, heat stroke. Those are not taken in account, as well, from the old stories that are written,
Well, I think it's very...
Yeah,
man, absolutely. No, sorry to interrupt you there. I think it's very interesting. You mentioned that there are enlightenments within that as well, and like you mentioned, schizophrenia. Many shamans believe that schizophrenia is more of a spiritual problem. Now, you can look at that however way you wish, and again, there may be things that are all correct at the same time. When it comes to something like this, I think that having that different layers of understanding is quite an important thing there. One thing that that Noah's Ark analogy that you made there was pretty interesting. That I hadn't thought about that one the same way.
People have talked about it. It's not my analogy. It's like, hey man, maybe it's a spaceship with or a plane, a laboratory, a flying laboratory, because of a calamity, perhaps, that they took DNA of everything.
Well, there's also the possibility, because we know that Mars used to be habitable. We know that for a fact right now, before the atmosphere of it was destroyed. So who's to say that we weren't originally from Mars? And then as we kept getting further and further away from the sun,
maybe from Mars.
We had to come
Mars,
down here,
maybe
and
other
in the
dimensions.
process, maybe we had to come down here from Mars, and in the process, we lost a lot of the things that we knew, and then were forced to become hunter-gatherers or something. There's always possibility.
And then there were sudden advancement. There maybe there are triggers. There are people among us or things among us. But even when it comes to that kind of like life from outside here, it's pretty much, they're not saying it, but they're saying it. They're around. There's always these kind of like people after their NDA expires and they're about to retire, be it like people from the space agency in several countries or national security, NDA expires, they're about to die, and then they tell you there are, and then they go, the people are not ready. What's the people are not ready? It's actually the religious people are not ready, because it'll just shatter everything they know. How they're gonna come to terms with that? It's not the average Joe. It's the average Joe who's religious. That's why they say the people are not ready, because it will defy exactly what it's been written, and that's why they don't want to deal with it.
Do you think it's that, or is it simply the fact that certain knowledge about our history and existence would actually stop us from participating in this current system entirely? Let's say like people would, if they found out what's actually happening, where we are, we would completely stop going to work. We would stop participating in the system in the same way. Some people might panic and go crazy. Some people might not. Some people might actually be okay.
It's kind of stupid, because it's just more like, oh, we're from here. Okay. If someone says our origin is from I don't know what planet, I'm like, that's it? That's it? I'm not doing shopping. I continue living, Those are stupid people, and they're always stupid people, even whenever there's a pandemic or a war or whatever. They're stupid people, and they're the most vocal. But there are reasons. Also, for example, actually, in USA, for example, national libraries and maybe education systems do not talk too much about Mesopotamian mythology, especially the Sumerian one. Yeah, in France, Germany, and stuff, it's everywhere. And then I got to think about it, and it has to do a lot with evangelists, because it's proof. Like Noah, they're saying Earth started 4,000 years ago, blah blah blah, and these are tales, carbon dated on the stone, like much older than that, and carbon dated on the stone are the similar tales of the Noah and stuff. So they just kind of like don't want to over talk about it, in Europe they'll just say, oh wow, that's the local mythology there. There's no they don't see it as a threat to their beliefs. So that's why it's less pushed, and that's why even there have been some hints. Maybe that's why they kind of like beat around the bush when they want to make a movie about, like, let's say the Sumerians or Anunnaki, or they don't. Even when they did Prometheus is a hint, and they say that's a fiction, not based on a tale of a certain place, because they won't get the full support, and maybe then there'll be less audiences, or it's a less accepted fact. Weirdly enough,
it is. But I think these are the exact things that we should be looking at, and of course, there's plenty in the history of humankind. We got a song on the latest TRIVAX album called Atash, which is the opening track of the album, and all the lyrics are in Farsi, Persian, but basically what I'm singing about is the fact that humanity may very well be a result of basically, humanity was created by El/Allah/Zeus to be a slave species for the Anunnaki because they needed gold to protect the atmosphere of their planet.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah. Of course.
that's why I'm sure you've heard the theories about that because like
We have a lot of songs about it. The
yes,
Anunnaki
I know.
But
That's right. And
no.
the fact that like we can talk about that because it's like why do we as humans have so much value for gold when it has zero functionality for us in terms of survivability?
Yeah, because we said it does have a value and it's scarcity, but it's worthless. But it's a good conductor.
Yeah.
But that's another thing about people. Like from the region we're in, one of the names of a god was Elohim. That's plural of El. That's in Hebrew.
Yes.
Ilah. That's Aramaic. Allah. That's Arabic, and it's all based on the breath. And some people are so confused. They're like, "Yeah, the Muslims got Allah. We got God. Let's get along." They don't get it that it's the same dude in the sky according to that tradition, and it's like Lord of the Rings 1, 2, and 3. And they don't agree together.
Yeah.
They just don't agree. And the last Lord of the Rings, they're the smartest. They're like, and this is part 3, and nothing after it is going to come. Anything after it's going to come is going to be invalid. That's it. Shotgun.
And then you get the Hobbit.
Then you get the Hobbit. We're living the Hobbit. We got a Hobbit. Yeah. But it's like, damn, man, those guys were like having agendas. But it is a continuation. They don't know that. I've seen Christian people in America. They're like, praise God, fuck Allah. I'm like, you just said fuck Allah in Arabic because in church they say Allah as well, And like, really? I'm like, whatever you want.
Well, I do also believe that, like to some extent, yes, that is true in terms of the definition of it. But I also do think that, how you said earlier that gentleman told you that everything in the universe is frequency. I believe that that a divine interaction is also possibly based on the same frequency as well. That's why, like, for example, with the Indians or the Egyptians, they have, or even the Greek, you have different frequencies attached to each god, and in order to communicate with them, you have to, it's like a radio that you have to like turn the knob until like, and then you find that channel,
Yeah, I don't know if there were gods. Maybe there were people who are experts in something.
But what I mean is like not gods necessarily just something you
but
can...
Maybe God is the manifestation of the concept. Like this is the god of harvest. This is the thing of harvest. So they put a picture of a dude or something. Or it was an advanced person who's really good with technology about that. So, the word God is open for for interpretation,
For sure.
It's not like a guy comes like, hey, I'm the God of this. I'm like, no, it could be a more complex thing, It's a frequency, a DNA pattern, So if someone says something divine and all that, yes, there are patterns and powers, like energy from the atom to the sun to the multiplication of the cells that are way bigger than us. And we don't know much about it. And maybe some people will say that is a divine thing, or it's an advanced thing, or it's a strong thing. It's all semantics. By the way, a lot of the problems in the world is semantics. It's the way you say something, right? Here, terrorist, freedom fighter, angry person. 3 different things, but it could be the same thing, same person. It's semantics, semantics. He went to hell because this is the devil who's evil. I'm like, excuse me, the most common place I hear about the devil and hell and burning skin is the holy places. The most I hear about like perversion and sexual blah, 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 blah are holy places. So it's all semantics. It's the way people put words like, oh, this guy, he's arrogant against the law. Or you go, no, maybe he's a curious person who thinks out of the box and he wants to invent in a different way. Semantics, how you present something with words.
That's really
And
interesting because I'm thinking about that also in a more modern cultural context. And the place where I hear about Nazis the most is from left-wing people, generally the far left people, that's an interesting sort of parallel there, I guess, to what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, also even that.
Which is generally like usually when by the way, just for clarification, usually when that term is thrown around, sometimes it might be true, but a lot of times when I've seen it recently, it's not the case. So
no, you're right.
It's curious.
You're right. But there's another thing people don't get it. Also with countries, with ideologies, people go this versus that. No. That is shit and good, and that is shit and good. There's like, if you are consider yourself a left wing, does that make you an angel? You can be a total piece of shit, but you can also be a good person. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
You can there are people there behaving like a Nazi, and there's other people who might have a certain misinformed idea, but deep inside they're ignorant, but they don't want to harm anybody. So it's, for example, they go, oh, this country bad, this country good. I'm like, really? Let me tell you one thing, my friend. Every country has a jail.
Yeah.
It's not for people from abroad. A jail is for the bad people, or sometimes innocent people.
It's such a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. And people are like, it's so easy. It's so easy, So tell me something. An apple or an orange? What choose?
We'll go for the orange.
Okay, why?
I don't know. It's kind of citrusy on the inside.
No, you see what I did? I said an apple and an orange. You said orange. Say banana. Say chair.
Yeah.
Say
I was tempted to say a banana.
This is how we're conditioned.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking in the airplane, coffee or tea. These are two options. I just said now randomly, apple or orange. You're like, orange. I'm like, fuck you. I'll get a burger. Like that. This is conditioning. Or even leave the food. I'm like, chair. This is how we get.
Yeah.
Chair.
No, I like your thinking. I see where you're going with it. Yeah.
What are you, apple and orange? What do you want? If you're offering food and have two things, that's another thing. But that's how I say semantics. And in a way, mythology maybe talked about it when they talked about Tower of Babel and people speaking different languages. So they cannot communicate together as a metaphor.
Sure.
So, people, like when I say apple and orange, that's what's happening on TV.
Yeah, the red and the blue, and I understand where you're going with.
Right, left, yes, good. Something doesn't hurt anybody. Mind your business, live your life, and do not impose. And that's common sense. You don't need a party for that, a party for this.
It's called common sense, but it's not so common in today's world, my man.
Well, yeah, because that was part of with the social media as the new form of propaganda. Till now, I know many people, they don't know how to do research. I studied how to do research at the university. So there are agencies that give data, but the data is unbiased. You know why? Because they don't care about the data. It's almost like saying there are 5 bottles of water. This country has so much sand. It is what it is. Or in this country, there's that many vegan. It is what it is. So if you want to make a steak restaurant, you go, that's not good for me. If you want to make a vegan restaurant, that's good for me. They just gather data.
Yeah.
And in a way that's scientific and systematic and accurate. And with that data, they know how to predict like electricity, power consumption and stuff. And those are where you get your research from. These are credible sources. You can get it at the OECD and stuff like that. Not, I read it on Facebook.
Yeah. Well, I think the problem that kind of happened, especially in the last few years, is when you can see for a fact that people in the news and media are lying about data and statistics, people have no choice but to then take onto TikTok and Facebook. And there's a dangerous thing about that.
Yeah, but they can bypass and go to the source and get the data and see it. It's right there. The info is there, and people like are arguing, and I'm like looking, like it's there. The info is there, but
Yeah.
they don't even know that there is an access to the info. There is an
Then,
access. It's open.
well, I think that I do agree with you on that, but I also do think that like I actually, in fact, I do think that there's a necessity in what you're saying is that you got to do your own due diligence, you got to do your own research for things,
Just
and I
check,
think
check.
that's a necessity. Yeah, but the thing that's kind of tricky right now is the fact that some data, not all, of course, but some data is bought out by corporations who have got interest, and then the way the media then reports on it, and then you get to the point where people can see that they're lying about these things. So of course they're gonna then take onto social media and then become their own experts, which ideally that should have never happened in the first place, but it has happened, so I see both sides of it. I do give a degree of right to people who feel that they find more reliance on anecdotal information purely because of the fuckery of governments all
But
across the world.
that's you're talking about the ones who have an agenda, take it and transmit it. So ignore them, because there is peer-reviewed data that is just correct, and if they're incorrect, they'll say we made a mistake and now we'll correct it, because they stay. There's always adjustment. Which part, what year, what sample size is always continuous adjustment, and it's reviewed by multiple people around the world, and they are not part of an agenda. They cannot be bought. But whoever buys that data can maybe take a sample, like not a full sentence, and say it. Or there's the ones who hire pseudoscientists or whatever, just to, like they did in the cigarette industry. They hired a couple of doctors to say that there are health benefits to cigarettes. They will look at one thing like, oh, maybe if you're pissed off and smoke a cigarette, you feel better. Health benefit,
Yeah.
But that's for the agenda people, But there is data that when it's discovered, it's there.
Yeah, I think in the case of nicotine in particular, I think that's the thing, because apparently it can be quite good for for actually preventing Alzheimer's, but it's nicotine, so
nicotine, not
how
smoke.
you ingest it makes a world of difference. Absolutely, yes.
That's nicotine.
Very podcast friendly substance. My man, spoken absolutely wisely here. Really, really enjoyed and appreciate the talk. And tell you what, man, I'm really excited for people to hear this EP of yours that you've got coming out soon.
We're excited about it.
Highly enough. And also, as we wrap this up, I also wanted to wish you an early happy birthday for 2 days from now.
Woo!
Yeah.
I'm gonna be half a century.
Damn, is that your 50th?
No, I'm 25.
No.
Yeah. I just thought about it now. Some people don't believe it, and
well, I don't believe it. I need to see your ID first. Because as far as I can see from the screen here, we're like the not so far apart cousins.
Yeah, stop it, you. You shouldn't have.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there are like sometimes like waiters and some waitresses or something at my friend's place. Like, no, my dad is 45. You don't look like my dad.
Fuck yeah.
It got cut. So I'm like, you don't look like my dad. I'm like, yeah, because we do rock and roll.
Yeah.
But inside, I'm dying 100-year-old angry tree.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not. I'm not sure what happened there, but I like your choice of the picture there. But,
what happened is my software update came. Oh, that's my profile photo. What happened is a software update came and didn't ask my permission. Here you go.
There we go. Yeah. Well, as we're kind of wrapping this up, man. Any kind of last words for people? Obviously, you've got Melechesh kind of like being unearthed, and I guess a little bit of a phoenix rising from the ashes. So, what have you got coming up that you'd like people to come and check out after they've heard this podcast?
Let them not be so petty when You see this? That's what the telephone's doing, sucking you in and kind of like makes you fixated. So chill out, wake up, go for a walk, and listen to the new EP when it's out. And I hope you're gonna like it. Yeah.
Absolutely fucking love it. Much respect to you, brother. Great to see you looking well and healthy. Thank you so much for the chat. And to everyone else, yes, and to everyone else who's been listening so far, hope you guys enjoyed this conversation. Support the fuck out of Melechesh, and we'll see you on the next episode of Iblis Manifestations.
Dan, thank you so much.